Hey, what is up, mortals? Welcome to Season 1 Part 6 of What If Deku Was a Nomu. Sit back and relax because you're in for a treat, so now we begin. Iravity, he muttered with a tear falling down his face. The girl who had called out to him triggered something that he couldn't recognize. And being separated from her caused an ugly feeling within his chest that he didn't like, as he tried to make sense of these complex emotions. Those around, still conscious, eyed him with caution. Damn, and here I thought we might have a weapon worth using against the heroes, Tamura said with a half sigh, hand outstretched. He reached out to touch Izuku but was stopped by the firm grasp of Dabai. Try it and I'll blast you with a torrent of fire so hot you won't be able to tell the difference between it and hellfire. Understand? Dabai warned with a scowl. Again, he wasn't alone in his stance. Those still conscious glared daggers at Tamura. No one gets to make the things I like bleed but me, Toga said, drawing a pair of knives in her hands ready to strike. Stop right there, hand him in, twice announced, striking a pose. What the hell are you morons doing? Can't you see that you can't control him? Sooner or later he's going to turn against us. I'm doing what needs to be done, Shigaraki argued. His words failed to reach the ears of his contemporaries. We heard you and we heard what the man behind the curtain said. The brainwashing wasn't as effective as I thought. Do you think we're idiots? Dabai said, slowly burning Shigaraki's wrist. Your boss betrayed Stain. They made All Might's son like this. Which means that Spinner was right and Stain wanted to return the kid to his parents. Dabai turned Shigaraki loose, which means that he was a true hero. And that mistakes were made. No one's infallible. We're only human, but you're so immature you can't see the value of his life. He, Dabai pointed at Izuku, was someone that would have died to protect anyone from harm. I know this because Stain himself went through a lot of trouble to fix his mistake. If you want to be the same as those heroic fakes, make another move and we can embrace the unknown together. Dabai warned with the wrath of 1,000 flames behind his eyes. Is that why you're doing this, Stain? Are his sermons all you stand for? Shigaraki glared with hatred at Dabai, fighting the urge to kill the other man for daring to scorn him. Of course I don't. If I did, I would have raised my damned hand with Spinner or taken him to All Might himself. I want to break down the foundation of this corrupted society and hold heroes accountable for their actions so that no little boy or girl ends up looking like me. Dabai ran a hand over the scars on his neck. I'm here because something needs to be done, and I'll use whatever advantage I can to accomplish that task. All Might's son, for better or worse, is one of us, broken and deformed because of the failures of this society. Look at the faces around you. We all see a bit of ourselves in him, and while you want to ignore it and fight it, you do too. Toga, Twice, and the other members of the League who woke up during the disagreement shared Dabai's scolding temperance. None of them were pleased with Shigaraki's hot and cold behavior towards their new recruit. What do you all know? It's because of All Might that this society is so weak. It's because of him that I ended up on the street with no one. Which is all the more reason for us to take the broccoli boy with us. All Might is a symptom, not the cause. He actually cares and thinks he's making a difference. Did you think you're the only one society has neglected while worshipping him? Spinner barked in anger. If you kill him, a person who sacrificed himself for others, all you'll end up being is a hypocrite that needs to be put down. Mustard chided as he dusted himself off. Defeated, Shigaraki lowered his hand. He agreed with them internally. He had been let down by the society All Might helped prop up, and while the man made him sick, Shigaraki knew for a fact that the blonde fool believed in what he did. Keep him away from me. I can't promise I won't dust him if I have to look at him any longer. Finding a temporary truce, the League followed Shigaraki once more. Days later, All Might walked into a hospital with a bright smile on his face, a ray of sunshine as he often was. He was officially here to visit sick children and raise their spirits. Unofficial, he was here looking for a certain man. Toshinori, like many other men, had a vengeful side, which was why he had Stain taken to Recovery Girls Clinic when the maniac was found unconscious by Mandalay. The symbol of peace wanted to be the first and only person to speak with the man. Toshinori had plans to have a similar chat in nature to the one he did with Native. Unfortunately, the man squealed immediately. Not out of fear but of regret. An info cache had been dumped at his feet, and as much as he wanted to make Stain pay, he knew that it was pointless. Stain would welcome the pain and even death. That killer was a fanatic, and fanatics couldn't be held to the same standards as someone as truly vile as All For One. He'd even been denied his redemption by that man, which left All Might with a great deal of pent-up frustration left untapped. He signed autographs, took pictures, smiled, and found his target. It took him 10 minutes of his hour, but when he laid eyes on the man responsible for his sorrow, the man's soul leaped from his body. When All Might's eyes failed to leave the man, the hamster-shaped doctor gave All Might exactly what he wanted. Boom! The floor gave way underneath him, and a large tar-colored hand reached out to take a firm grip of the blonde, For the first time in weeks, All Might smiled from the depths of his heart. Detroit Smash, lacking the exuberance that his trademark move embodied. All Might casually threw a half-hearted smash. The head of the large bulbous Nomu exploded as a shockwave shot through its being. No shock absorption this time. Unlucky you. All Might cracked his knuckles as Dr. Yujiko scrambled, fumbling over himself in a vain attempt to escape. All Might walked. Not at a snail's pace, but just slow enough so that when the good doctor looked back he'd be looking into his cold, merciless eyes, 6 feet behind him, while maintaining the smile he wore when their eyes first met. All Might stalked closer. Get away from me. From underneath his lab coat he pulled out a bright red button with a skull on it. Trembling, the portly doctor pointed the remote at the number 1. Any closer and I'll blow this building to bits. The doctor swore in an attempt to break All Might's bloodlusted haze. To the man's horror, Toshinori's smile widened. Oh, I'm afraid it's too late for all that. For you see, there are many who consider me an idol. Men and women from all over the world with some of the most interesting quirks have volunteered their time to me. Of the bunch, I've devoted tireless hours gathering the most intriguing individuals. Heck, even a few villains have turned canary. I didn't even have to find you. They did. All Might eyed the man, daring him to press the button. And he did, to the result of nothing. It's just you and I. The facility has been evacuated. Your master is in chains, and soon, very soon, so will you ... but not before we've had an intimate conversation. To me, my children. Boom, boom, boom. Loud consecutive explosions followed, but not of explosive nature. They were crawls of abominations erupting to the surface world. As they came, All Might grabbed the manlet by the scruff of his collar. 4 uniquely shaped beasts surrounded the number 1 at all sides. They were the completed high-ends created to end the lives of Japan's top heroes. One wore a hood made of its own skin. The second was round with a large mouth. The third had a long tentacle attached to its head and was female. And the final creature had what looked like a helmet for a head. The beasts stared at the capture of their creator. A momentary pause followed. Suddenly, All Might threw a smash upward through the ceiling, before jumping through the opening, the creatures following after All Might, with snarls and scowls. With an audible click, his feet taped against the roof before he sprung out in a sprint. The hooded Nomu was the first to emerge. It used a jet propulsion quirk to jettison himself at the symbol. The Nomu shot its arm out. It elongated and expanded to take hold of the blonde. Toshinori used his speed and honed reflexes to slip underneath the limb, taking advantage of the Namu's momentum, charged back at the monstrosity and destroyed its brain with an ear-splitting smash. No, Hood-chan, Yujiko cried, watching one of his masterpieces get destroyed before it could regain its full senses. Decades worth of research were reduced to nothing. My precious boy. Hearing those words drip from the twisted man's lips flipped a switch in All Might's head. He tightened his grip on the man's fat neck and rushed forward. With his free hand, he chopped the head of the round Nomu off before cocking it back and removing the head of another with a violent yank, crushing it in hand. The doctor wailed in a mixture of terror and grief as he was forced to bear witness to All Might's brutality. Space distorted near the hero's head as the last of Yujiko's creatures attempted to remove the symbol's head with a space distortion quirk. However, before the Nomu could dream of succeeding, its skull was bashed in by a backhand from All Might, littering the roof of the building with bodies. No, you monster, how could you go this far? Yujiko wept, unable to go to his children's aid. The pain he felt was replaced with terror as Toshinori lifted the man by his coat and stared him dead in his eyes. Your children, you say? What could a man like you know of family? He raised his fist in preparation to throw a final smash. Before he could, 2 torrents of fire scored the air and 2 other creatures hit the ground, melting. Mocha-chan, Johnny-kun, you're getting sloppy out here, All Might, Endeavor announced from behind the man. This operation is over, my friend. We've done all we can. It's time to head back. Grudgingly, All Might complied, lowering his fist and taking the man in. After the man was put in a cell, he was to be interrogated by Aizawa. Toshinori wanted to be alone, so he went to the one place no one else would follow him: his office. Unfortunately, someone was already there waiting for him. Are you going to pull another all-nighter? Inko said in disappointment. I don't have any other choice, he replied, shrinking back to his emaciated form. She knew everything about him now thanks to Torino. There was no point in hiding this part of himself from her. Please, have a seat. She patted on the leather coach, inviting him over. I'll find him. If it's the last thing I do, I promise. Inko sighed. Are you promising me, or my mother? She asked, taking his hand as he froze. Since you've started avoiding me, I've had a lot of time to think. And I feel like you need to rest. You're killing yourself. And if my mother or Izuku saw you like this, they'd beg you to stop. Inko said with tears in her eyes. I was angry when I found out how my Izuku got a quirk, because of the dangerous path it set him on. But my son would have found a way to get himself into trouble with or without you. All you did was give him the best chance of having his dream. What happened isn't your fault. It was just ... the worst of luck. It pained her to admit this truth, but All Might needed to hear it, because if he didn't, he wouldn't last much longer. She gently took the sides of his face. I can't say I forgive you, because there's nothing to be forgiven. But if you keep pushing yourself like this, if this kills you, I won't be able to face my son again. So please, rest. His armor cracked as he laid his head on her shoulder and cried. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He continued as he took hold of her. He cried until he fell asleep for the first time in days in her arms as she rocked him back and forth. Midsection, Naruto What If channel. Before we get back into the story, I would like to say that we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes over the hard facts of the anime presented. Now, in case you guys didn't know, we have a third channel called We The Celestial Naruto What If. We The Celestial Naruto What If mainly focuses on our Naruto What If series. If you are interested in content like this, please go check the description below or click the eye icon in the top right corner. Now, with that out of the way, let's get back into the story. Weeks later, the League was on their own. No resources, no connections, and no lair to call their own. No one was willing to do business with them for numerous reasons, but the biggest was currently sparing lightly with Toga and the abandoned warehouse. So for days they'd been on the street surviving until twice met someone who offered them an opportunity, which was why they were here. Toga's partner stopped moving and pointed towards the door. The League followed the direction, and from it 2 people walked in. It was twice with a man who wore a plague mask. His name was Kai Chisaki, or as he was going these days, Overhaul. Good evening, he introduced respectfully. My name is Overhaul, and you must the League of Villains, the former pieces of our once great king. I've decided that having you on my side would be more beneficial than detrimental, so I'm prepared to make my only offer given your current situation. Join me and I can help you weather the storm you've caused or continue your lives of squalor until All Might finds you. This did not go over well with the League. The man before them clearly thought little of them, no doubt wanting to use them for their name recognition to boost himself. You think you can come here and boss us around, honey? Magni demanded, lifting her magnet. We came together to live our lives how we want. No one's gonna boss us around, she charged, activating her quirk, dragging Chisaki near her. But with one touch she was obliterated. The reaction of the League members was immediate and decisive. Compress, being the quickest, jumped in to seal Overhaul, but his quirk failed to activate and cost him an arm. Starfish, play fetch, Toga barked out. With Dabai gone on a mission with Kirigiri, she was left in charge of Izuku for a limited time. Following her commands, his eyes became dull as his body glowed and his right arm bulked as he sprinted at Overhaul. Shield, Chisaki demanded, prompting one of his men to get in front of him. Deku's artificial limb coated itself in translucent fluid that hardened and caved the man's chest in, killing him on impact. Shigaraki ran up behind Midoriya, jumping off his shoulders, and reached out for Overhaul. The leader of the League managed to take hold of the man's mask but fell short of being able to decay him outright. Reinforcements for Chisaki arrived, bursting through one of the walls. The Yakuza leader regrouped with his men, bringing an end to the conflict. You have promise, but make no mistake, you have limited options. Think about my offer. Overhaul tossed them his card and left with his men. The League had been handed their first defeat. At the same time, a crimson-dressed man kneeled before the skeletal form of All Might. It brings me no pleasure to have you within my presence, and even less peace that you are not behind bars. I have need of you, and since you are capable, I have no choice but to make use of you. Toshinori growled as he tossed a file at the kneeling man's feet. These are the various leads that have come in. Use them to begin your search. If you come across anything worth knowing, you will report to me using the phone I have provided. You will involve no more vigilantes in your search. That pop-step girl was nearly sent to Tartarus until I stepped in. Now go and find my boy so that his mother can rest easy once more. Yes, All Might, the fanatic swore, taking the file and leaping out a window. Alone, All Might closed his eyes and sighed. Another took hold of his hand. It'll be okay in the end, Inko said assuringly. I pray you're right, Inko-san. I pray you're right. Thank you all for watching the video to the end. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. On behalf of We The Celestials, I'd like to thank the writer and editors for this video. Their details will be in the description. If you're a voice actor, editor, or writer, or you're interested in becoming one of those, go to the Discord that is in the description of this video and hit up the head of one of those areas. We're always looking for members to join us. That's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're interested, and hit that like button if you liked the video. Until next time, peace out, mortals. Have a fantastic day.